Think video game movie, and your brain can't help but recall horrors like 1993's Super Mario Bros. Atrocity, the DOA, Dead or Alive adaptation that starred Holly Valance, or even, if you haven't repressed it, that Street Fighter film where Jean-Claude Van Damme played Guile. Luckily times have changed, and big movie studios have started to understand the wonderful world of gaming a little better. So many game ideas have been snapped up by the big movie studios. Hands up who didn't expect a The Rock and a Rampage spin-off in their lifetime. That it can be hard to keep track, so here's our constantly changing list of what's coming for 2018 and beyond. Call of Duty release date, 2018-2019. Activision has made no secret of its desire to squeeze every last penny out of its blockbuster titles, and Call of Duty is no exception. It's very early days in development, but the early signs are promising. Stefano Sollima has signed on as director, and if that name is familiar it's because he's just finished Sicario, Day of the Soldado. Kieran Fitzgerald is on board as the writer. He's also currently at work on Sherlock Holmes 3, and in the past has penned Oliver Stone's Snowden and a few episodes of gripping Netflix documentary series Wormwood. We don't know much more than that, but with those two at the helm expect a story packed with tension. Minecraft, the movie release date, May 24, 2019. The challenge of making the block-based hit a blockbuster falls to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia's Rob McElhenney, with backing from Wonder Woman story writer Jason Fuchs. The game's original creator Marcus Notch Person is also on the creative team, and Warner Brothers will be in charge of making sure it all happens. Success of the LEGO Movie suggests Minecraft could be a huge hit with the right story. It's no accident that the LEGO Movie producer Roy Lee is on board, and with rumors of Steve Carell signed up as the star, this might actually work. Uncharted release date, rumors and drama have surrounded the Uncharted movie since around 2010, when Mark Wahlberg confirmed he was playing Nathan Drake and that Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci would be his co-stars. Directed by American Hustle's David O. Russell, fans, we're confused about the rumored plotlines, and things soon fell quiet. Now, thankfully, it looks as though the project is back, with Stranger Things and Date Night director Sean Levy in charge, Smokin' Aces and Death Wish reboot writer Drew Carnahan holding the pen, and Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland, starring. Holland will play a young Drake, and has his eye on his Avengers Infinity War buddy Chris Pratt as Sully. "I think he would be a great Sully. I think it could be cool," he said in an interview. "Because if it was an older movie, I would say that Chris should play Nathan, but I think he would be a cool Sully, and I love working with Chris, so if I could work with Chris some more that would be great." Breaking Bad's Bryan Cranston is also rumored to be on the cast. Now he would make a great Sully. Sly Cooper release date, T-Bathe film purportedly centers on Sly racing to recover pages from the thievius raccoonus before it falls into the hands of Clockwork. It was set to feature voice actors from the video game series, with the exception of Kevin Miller, Sly Cooper, with a 2016 release planned, but as of the failure of the Ratchet, so it might not actually ever come out. The Last of Us release date, T-Basony and Naughty Dog told us that The Last of Us would be transitioning to the big screen, with the game's story writer Neil Druckmann penning the movie script as well, and we immediately tried to think of the best cast for the film. Alas, since then, and despite the involvement of Sam Raimi as producer, the film seems to have fallen into development hell and somewhat stalled. Though according to Raimi, it hasn't been outright cancelled. Watch Dogs release date, Ubisoft must be awfully big on Watch Dogs. A movie was on the cards before the game was even out. The project went quiet for a good 3 years after that, but was re-announced as a co-production with Sony at E3 2016, so presumably the production is ramping up. Monster Hunter release date, TBA. File this one under, vague but possible. A Monster Hunter movie has, vaguely, been announced as being in the works by Capcom, and a prospective Hollywood pitch has since been, vaguely, discussed. Discussed in terms of a long-term franchise, in fact. The only problem? The person doing that pitching is Paul W.S. Anderson, of Resident Evil, and a whole slew of other, terrible films, infamy. And he wants to make a film about a man in the real world traveling to the realm of Monster Hunter in order to train to fight monsters invading Earth. Probably in slow-mo. No doubt to a cheesy industrial techno soundtrack, and shot with a pathologically kinetic camera. Seriously, someone stop this man making films. Page 2 release date, T-Bathe. Avi Arad-led Mass Effect film has been in the works since 2010, but you wouldn't know it from the sheer lack of information. The film has gone through multiple writers since its announcement, and alas doesn't seem to have ever got much further than early pre-production, so maybe don't go sitting next to a calendar waiting for this one. Dante's Inferno release date TBA. Back in 2010, when Dante's Inferno came out, a full-length movie, separate from the animated, direct-to-DVD tie-in feature, was announced. However, that was before both the game and the animated movie achieved lower than anticipated sales. What does this mean for the movie? Well, coming soon mentioned the film is still being a going concern in 2015, but talk of Evil Dead remake director Fede Alvarez aside, the production has been pretty silent. Your breath. Do not hold it. Temple Run release date TBA. In 2013, Warner Bros. Entered negotiations for a film adaptation overseen by none other than Harry Potter producer David Heyman. Filmed by animation vets Virgil Riley and Clay Cadiz, the film adaptation is planned to follow an explorer who finds himself chased by demonic monkeys after he takes a sacred idol from, where else, a temple. Basically, it's the same backstory from the iOS game, fleshed out. No word on a release date yet though. Rabbids release date TBA. The Ubisoft movie studio won't just focus on mature films, the Rabbids franchise has been successful for them too, and a family-friendly movie to go along with the popular Nickelodeon TV series makes perfect sense. Preliminary reports suggest that the movie will be live-action with CGI rabbits running amok, similar to the recent Smurfs movies. Sundry Sega properties release date TBA. Sega has given its production arm, Stories International, free rein to adapt 40 of its franchises, including Shinobi, Golden Axe, Altered Beast, Virtua Fighter, and Crazy Taxi. The company says it's looking to partner with major studios to turn these franchises into TV series, digital series and, yep, you guessed it, feature films. That leaves a lot of possibilities open, but expect to see news about at least one or two of those good old Sega classics heading to the silver screen at some point in the future. Five Nights at Freddy's release date TBA. Based on the popular indie game of the same name, Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie will follow a similar setup. Set in a Chuck E. Cheese-style restaurant where one of the house animatronics becomes a murderer at night, the hero needs to survive their shift. How that'll translate to film has yet to be determined, though a new story set in the existing canon is mooted, but Gil Keenan, Monster House, is set to direct, and Jim Henson's Creature Shop are slated to make the puppets. Deus Ex: Human Revolution release date TBA. The Deus Ex movie has gone quiet since its 2013 announcement, changing writers, directors, and even production companies since then. There were fresh rumblings from the producer in 2015 though, so it may well be set for resurrection soon. Splinter Cell release date TBA. The Splinter Cell movie has changed its creative team a few times now, but one constant has remained: Tom Hardy is the live-action Sam Fisher. With original director Doug Liman having departed the project, the last we heard was that the script was in for a rewrite by Frank John Hughes. Far Cry release date TBA. No, we're aware of the Uva Bowl Far Cry movie from a few years back, though we try not to be, but this should take that bad taste right out of our mouths, considering Ubisoft itself is in charge. Yet to announce anything about the film, other than it will exist, so the hope that it'll follow the story of Far Cry 3 still lives. Boss is too cool a character to ignore. Ghost Recon release date TBA. And the Ubisoft train keeps on rolling. Like Far Cry, there's very little information around on the Ghost Recon movie yet. However, Ubisoft has reached out to a very big name to supervise the project, Michael Bay, serving as producer. Do you know what that means for the Ghost Recon film? Explosions. There will be so many explosions. It will be made entirely of explosions. Page 3 release date TBA. While it languished in obscurity after losing its original director, as well as its lead cast members, Jamie Foxx and Bruce Willis, the film is possibly still on. Gerard Butler and Vin Diesel are now rumored to star in the film, well, as of 2013, so don't bet all your future happiness on this one actually happening, which also has a new director. Gary Gray will supposedly helm the project, having worked with Butler before on Law-Abiding Citizen. God of War release date TBA. Believe it or not, the live-action God of War movie has been in development since 2005, but we haven't heard a damn thing about it. No directors, no producers, no actors, no nothing. There have been a lot of different scriptwriters, but nothing has stuck. We're beginning to think this film has a long road ahead filled with Herculean obstacles, but there's no denying a God of War movie would be a blockbuster. Hopefully this year's game will kickstart interest again. Devil May Cry release date TBA. Remember when Capcom announced that Hollywood was making a Devil May Cry movie at E3? We do, and damn, does DMC continue to have fantastic cinematic potential, whichever version of Dante the production goes with. Of course, that was back at E3 2011, and we haven't heard a thing in the 6 years since. Nothing's been officially cancelled, but, moving swiftly on, Mortal Kombat release date. After the incredible Mortal Kombat Legacy web series finished up, director Kevin Tancharoen was tapped to make a full-length movie in the same vein. However, the project never hit full production, and now Furious 7 and The Conjuring director James Wan is on board as producer, with Simon McCoy graduating from commercials to make his feature debut. Release date TBAOH. Metal Gear. We've waited so long to see you on a movie screen, since 2006, to be precise, but the sheer lack of any pertinent information meant that for almost as long we thought you'd never come to pass. Sony Pictures is, however, moving forward with the film, with Jordan Vogt-Roberts confirmed to direct and Avi Arad rumored to produce. Solid Snake will be the star, according to Kojima, but as far as who's playing him, that's anyone's guess. Various unspecified Nintendo movies release date. Announced in 2016, Nintendo is redoubling its efforts on multimedia production, with movies very much part of its long-term strategy. To that end, it is now actively pursuing co-productions with external partners for movie projects based around many of its lead franchises. Expect Mario and Zelda to pop up over the next few years. Heavy Rain release date. Heavy Rain rights were bought way back in 2006, years before the game was released. We still do not have a movie, unless you count the game itself. But hey, films and games have taken longer to produce than this. The Sims release date. Bathier is a live-action movie based on a video game based on real life in the works. It was announced back in May 2007, but nothing has been heard since. If a big Hollywood studio wants to make a Sims movie, I volunteer to let them follow me around for 2 weeks and see real life in action. There'll be a lot of sitting, and typing, and game playing. Actually, it probably won't be that great. But it would actually exist. Asteroids release date. By You Are Not Hallucinating. Universal Pictures picked up the rights to a movie based on the classic black and white space shooter way back in July 2009. We've heard little since then, but there has been some activity behind the scenes. The script was recently rewritten by F. Scott Fraser, with Lorenzo di Bonaventura producing, but the director search continues after Roland Emmerich backed out a few years ago. Dragon's Lair release date. TBA. Of all upcoming video game movie adaptations, this one makes the most sense. In fact, it's easily the one we want to see the most. You see, the original 1983 Dragon's Lair effectively is an animated movie, an early FMV arcade game that simply prompts the player to hit certain control cues at specific points to push the story forward. But what it lacked in deep gameplay, it more than made up for in craft and style, being as it was animated by one Don Bluth, director of The Secret of NIMH, An American Tail, and The Land Before Time, and now Bluth, alongside longtime collaborator Gary Goldman, wants to make a Dragon's Lair movie. The pair have successfully smashed their Indiegogo target, raising over $600,000 for the production of a 5-minute pitch animation to tout to studios. That reel is now deep into production, and apparently currently clocking in longer than planned, so momentum on this one is strong. Page 4 release date. Bah, thought the last slide was weird. Missile Command's movie rights were claimed by 20th Century Fox back in 2011, showing that there's a movie idea to be had basically anywhere you look. However, that's about all we know about the project, which means it could have fallen by the wayside, especially after Battleship came and went. Maybe some ideas are the best left alone. Centipede release date. TBA. And wrapping up the trinity of aged Atari properties is Centipede. As of May 2016, Emmett Furla Oasis Films has a deal with the publisher to create a movie based on the 1980 arcade game. Another fairly abstract game concept looking for a story, then, but let's face it, when has a humans vs. giant bugs movie not been a good idea? Though someone's bound to pick up the human centipede by accident when it comes out on Blur. Borderlands release date. TBA. Lionsgate has picked up Borderlands for a live-action movie adaptation, and has Guile 3 writer Aaron Berg working on the script. Don't go worrying that implies a toned-down, kid-focused take on the game though. According to Lionsgate, the film is going for a fittingly in-your-face attitude, and Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford has posited that it is likely to get an R rating. There's been no significant word on the movie's progress for a while, but the success of Mad Fury Road's desert-based Anarchy in 2015 certainly can't have hurt its chances of moving forward. Great Detective Pikachu release date TBA in June 2016. Legendary Entertainment bought the rights to Nintendo's Great Detective Pikachu Pokémon spin-off, with production scheduled to kick off in 2017 and distribution deals with Universal and Toho already signed up for the global markets and Japan, respectively. Shark Tale and Monsters vs. Aliens director Rob Letterman is making the film, which seems a good fit, but we can't help dreaming of the versions that once mooted directors Robert Rodriguez, Sin City, Planet Terror, and Tim Miller, Deadpool, would have made. On a similar note, it sadly looks like Danny DeVito will not be voicing Pikachu. The Division release date TBA. In addition to the now-released Assassin's Creed movie, and upcoming adaptations of Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon, Watch Dogs, and Rabbids, Ubisoft is pushing ahead with The Division. The post-viral, New York apocalypse film already has Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain signed up, and will be developed by the game publishers Ubisoft Motion Pictures Wing, in partnership with Chastain and Gyllenhaal's own production companies. Firewatch release date TBA. Now this is an adaptation that makes sense. Beautiful-looking, emotive, narrative-driven indie game? Yes, that is a far better fit than Tetris. Not that they'd ever actually make something as stupid as a Tetris movie, of course. Yeah right, just wait until you get a bit further into this article. But yes, developer Campo Santo has signed a games and films development deal with Good Universe, Neighbors, The Night Before, and a live-action Firewatch is sensibly up first. No word on a release date yet, but both parties seem very enthusiastic about the venture, so expect more updates soon. Fruit Ninja release date TBA. And just when it was going so well. Yes, Fruit Ninja is being adapted into a live-action family comedy about ninjas, and the endless tribulations inflicted by their ongoing war against fruit. I don't know, maybe a kumquat murdered the protagonist's family, or he was betrayed in front of his clan by a scheming mangosteen. Actually screw it, yeah? Just do a kid-friendly remake of Ninja Assassin, with pulpy juice painting the walls instead of blood. I'm in. Gears of War release date TBA. The Gears movie has been touted for ages. Pretty much since the first game came out in 2006, in fact. That's 10 years of people wrongly demanding that The Rock play Marcus Phoenix, when everyone sensible can see that it should patently be Dave Bautista. Anyway, in light of Gears of War 4, the project seems to be back on, by way of a new deal between Microsoft and Universal. No word on a projected release date yet, but Gears producer Rod Ferguson sounds positive about the whole thing, feeling that a movie is the next logical step for the franchise, and that this is the right time. He's also realistic and open-minded about the movie's need to go in its own direction rather than ape the games too heavily in order to pander to their original audience, so we could be looking at a smart adaptation here rather than a slavish but misfiring live-action recreation. Gran Turismo release date TBA. Unbelievably, yes, a Gran Turismo movie is going ahead. Even after we all saw how Need for Speed turned out, yeah, even after that. This one has the writers of Red and, well, Battleship on board, and the director of Tron Legacy, so expect it to look cool and be very shallow. No word on what it will actually be about, given that Gran Turismo has no plot whatsoever, but definitely do expect cars, doing something. They'll definitely be doing something. Portal and Half-Life release date TBA. In lieu of anything game-shaped coming out of the Half-Life universe since Portal 2, J.J. Abrams seems to be taking it upon himself to get things started again. Hell, if he can fix Star Wars, 11 years after Revenge of the Sith, I'm not going to bet against him on this either. Abrams has met with Valve, things seem to be progressing well, and an announcement on Portal is promised fairly soon. As of September 2016. But things move slowly in Hollywood. We're still in the soon period. Trust me. Tetris release date TBA. FFS. Yes, there's a Chinese-American co-produced Tetris movie coming. Not only that, but it's a trilogy. In fact, producer Larry Kasdanov is touting it as a sci-fi story so big that it has to be a trilogy. He's remaining tight-lipped about the specifics of the story, smugly so, in fact, claiming that no one has come remotely close to figuring out what we're doing, but there's talk of a script working around the theme of creating order out of chaos. Let's wait and see on this one, shall we? I'm fine with waiting. Let's wait for a good long time.